Afghanistan is a land of astounding natural and cultural beauty. But following 4 decades of conflict, sustained poverty and environmental degradation, Afghans are now facing another threat: climate change.
At this time of the season, we should have had a lot of snow here in Kabul. But now there is nothing on the land and not on the mountains of Kabul. Also, during the summertime, we see the extreme hot and very high temperatures. And in winter, we see the winter is dry, there is no precipitation, but there is extreme low temperature in some parts of the country.
The shifting climate is making natural disasters more common and more severe, particularly floods and droughts, causing untold suffering and trapping rural Afghans in a cycle of poverty. Each year, natural disasters affect some 235,000 people across the country, taking lives and destroying homes, fields, livelihoods, and crucial infrastructure.
The floods come from up there in the mountains. You can see the valleys. Sometimes they come during the night and the village could be threatened. All of the men, women, and children would be crying. The flood swept away a baby from this village with the mother. The mother survived, but the baby was washed away.
The floods come down from the mountain and destroy our houses and agriculture. It gave us a real beating, and it destroyed our road.
Their stories are harrowing, but the means to protect Afghans against these threats are well understood and perfectly achievable with the right guidance and support. The Afghanistan Resilience Consortium, or ARC, led by AfghanAid, has been working alongside local communities to reduce their risk and improve their resilience to natural disasters and climate change by restoring their local ecosystems. Crucially, the strategies applied are affordable and can be sustainably managed by communities themselves. The vast majority of Afghans are rural farmers, many living around the dramatic landscapes of the Hindu Kush Himalayas. These snow-capped peaks hold an abundance of water which sustains the farming communities in the valleys below. But following decades of deforestation and climate change, these degraded mountain ecosystems have a dark side. When water from spring rains and snowmelt flows rapidly down the mountains, it can create flash floods which take communities by surprise, wreaking instant devastation. But the fast-moving water also leaves communities vulnerable to droughts. By quickly flowing down the mountainside, water doesn't stay long enough to recharge the ground, leaving farmers without water for the growing season.
We had difficulties with the shortage of water in our canal. Not enough water reached our land, so we were unable to produce enough crops.
Sometimes we would try to use bags of soil to stop the water flowing away, but the water would wash them away, so we didn't have enough water for agriculture.
With the help of the consortium, local communities are working to keep water in the mountainside and protect their homes and infrastructure from the runoff. In essence, making running water walk. This not only reduces devastating floods, but also means that water can be stored and put to productive use throughout the year. For example, digging trenches in the steep mountainside means water doesn't flow downhill so rapidly, but instead soaks into the ground, reducing floods and adding to the soil moisture. Building terraces slows the speed of runoff and increases the area for planting crops and trees. And in the ravines where fast-moving water converges, gully plugs of stone or sand protect the communities below. The ARC also ensures that water will be freely available throughout the year by building water storage structures and by protecting natural springs from landslides and avalanches.
We didn't have enough water before for drinking or washing dishes. This was because there were regular landslides which would cover our spring. Now that we have protected this spring, we have enough water for everything.
In the valleys, communities build strong structures that protect fields, roads, and other critical infrastructure, and which allow the water to be channeled usefully to where it's needed. And they build bridges to make sure communities stay connected to schools, hospitals, and markets, regardless of the weather conditions. To make these projects sustainable, the consortium provides a meaningful wage to local people for their work, injecting money into the local community and providing the essential skills and sense of ownership needed to ensure their continued maintenance and sustainability. For example, the ARC trains and employs local women to make gabion boxes, a thick wire net made into containers and filled with rocks for use in the construction of flood defense structures.
They gave us a course on how to build these gabion nets, and the women got an income from this, and so they could support their families. This has been great for the women who are more vulnerable.
In areas that just a few years ago were routinely devastated by floods and droughts, communities now thrive and feel a sense of optimism that they hadn't felt for many years.
Now that we have constructed these dams, the people have cultivated the land and planted orchards. Before, the floods would have affected orchards and the houses down there. But now our people are safe and happy.
Last time there was a flood. It was controlled by the gully plugs and ponds. Our agriculture and houses are unaffected. My people are now free to go about their business safely.
Working alongside communities, the difference that our programs have made over the past few years have literally been night and day. You can stand in a valley and you can see a green hillside where the runoff is slow and crops are growing, right next to a brown hillside where things are still very barren and floodwater runs off every year. In my view, countries such as Afghanistan did not create or contribute to the major climate change that we're faced with now. So I think that the developed world really owes it to countries like Afghanistan to help them adapt to the changes that they're now confronting. On the other hand, supporting countries like Afghanistan to do that, planting the trees, recovering the land with vegetation, is of benefit to the whole world, and everybody wins.
The ARC's work is vast in some areas and has earned them great respect among local Afghans. But countless communities have still not yet been reached. Whilst the world continues the necessary work to reduce carbon emissions, we must remember that relatively low contributing countries like Afghanistan are already facing real-world consequences and deserve our help.